Okay, so Mom actually called me this morning with notes about the podcast. And so notes from last episode was she wanted everyone to have it clear that Mother actually got married when she was 29 and Dad was 32. Liz said they got married when Mom was 32 and Dad was 35, but that was when they first had Elizabeth. So that, according to Elizabeth, is when all things first started and happened. The world did not exist before Elizabeth came into the world. So that was the most important date. All things revolve around that.
It was when my life began. So for me, it's when all things started. So yes, I did misremember. Mom was 32 when I was born, not when they were married. They were married 3 years prior to when they started having kids.
Which I started thinking about that, and it's like, I don't know, it's just so weird for me to imagine Mom and Dad without kids. And 3 years is a good while.
It's a long time, yeah. Well, because they only dated for, I think, 1 or 2 years, 2 years at most before they got married. I'm sure she's going to call and correct you on that because that might be wrong. But I don't think they dated for 3 years before they got married.
No, yeah, it definitely wasn't 3 years. It was more like 8 years, maybe. But speaking of misremembering things, I also have to correct my own self because oh God, I don't even know if it was an email or something, but a student said to my relationships class professor, "Oh, did you post the lecture slides?" And I was like, "What lecture slides?" Because as I mentioned in the previous podcast, we just have section and discussion in the readings, but the discussion is not about the readings and it doesn't have slides. So I was like, what is she talking about? So I went back to the syllabus and it was like, there's an asynchronous lecture about the readings that I'll post on, the class website. So when I said, I don't even remember what episode it was, but when I said about my relationships professor that she didn't talk about a reading, it's because I have missed 6 weeks of lecture that I did not know existed. So I would like to remedy that. I am now catching up on the lectures because I can watch them in 2 times speed. I will get to the one about when to have sex in a relationship, which is what I was criticizing. But we did talk about that in the last discussion we had, and the professor was very good about it. She was like, yeah, no, I totally agree. This reading is like just kind of opening the literature about, sex and relationships. They're not making any judgments. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right. So, but in that class, I had my section this morning and this girl gave a presentation on long distance relationships and like the research about it. And at the end of it, she was talking about like holes in the research and she made a note. She was like, and, per the great presentation on polyamory a couple weeks ago by Jen, this research is kind of, mononormative and mononormative, biased towards monogamy. And I was like, look at me out here changing lives, converting folk. So that was my happy point of the day when I felt poly validated.
Educating the youth. Educating the youth. We love it. We love to see it.
Yes, it was a good day. I'm Jen.
I'm Liz.
And we're Harmless Harlots.
What does that mean?
To us, it means being open to having more than one relationship, however you define it, as long as everyone gives fully informed, enthusiastic consent.
It's also an homage to our poly Bible, The Ethical Slut, which we recommend if you want to learn more.
We are enthusiasts, not experts in this field, so if you want to learn and explore along with us, we give you our knowing, enthusiastic consent to come along. I guess also speaking of Mom and Dad getting married, Leah and I watched the recent season of The Bachelor with Matt James, who was the first Black Bachelor. And there have been like 25 or so seasons of The Bachelor. And I was like, how is that even possible? And some of the crusty ass looking guys. And it's like, really? Really? Oh my God. So that was... So we watched that, and at the end of that, they're like supposed to get engaged, but at the end, Matt was like, to the last girl, he was like, I don't want to get engaged, but let's keep dating. And then after that, they broke up because the girl, a photo surfaced of her at an antebellum party.
Oh, yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah, which I did not know. Antebellum literally means before the war. Antebellum. Fun facts. It was so funny because today Leah and I watched an episode of Married at First Sight,
God.
which
my literal nightmare.
honestly, and it was so weird because the reason this is connected to The Bachelor is because, like, essentially you apply for this program, you get interviewed, and then they match 4 couples, so 8 people get matched, all heterosexual. We can talk about that, but so they all get matched, and then 2 weeks later they get married, and it was just so funny because on The Bachelor, you only get engaged on The Bachelor. And so at the end of The Bachelor, all the girls are like, oh my God, it's only been like 6 weeks and I'm going to get engaged. And on this show, it's like, it's been 2 weeks. I've never met the person, but yeah, I'm getting married. It's like, what a wild concept. What a wild, wild concept.
I didn't know they even were engaged. I assumed with Married at First Sight that they literally were married at first sight and would like meet at the wedding.
Yeah, no, they do. There's a 2-week period between the matching and the wedding, but they don't meet each other until the wedding.
Okay. That makes sense. I thought you were saying they met and then for 2 weeks and then they got married. But no, they really do get married at first sight. Yeah.
So wild. Like it's the cringiest thing.
Well, so I mean, some cultures do practice like arranged marriages, and I mean, there are a lot of people that argue that like arranged marriages are like a better way to do it because like your family and your parents know you as a person really well and would be good at picking someone who you're compatible with. And in the cultures that do that, one of the things they argue for why arranged marriages are so great is that like, oh, in cultures with arranged marriages, like nobody ever gets divorced. And like, while that is accurate, it is in part because divorce is like not part of the culture. Like in America, we didn't used to have a lot of divorce, and that's not because marriages were good. It's because like women couldn't financially support themselves outside of the construct of marriage. So saying you have a low divorce rate isn't necessarily a signal that your system is working. There are arguments I can see, and there have been relationships for which I think arranged marriage has worked very well, and there are people who have had arranged marriages who are very happy. So I think that definitely can work.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't be happy. I'm not saying it's a better or worse system. I do not think I would want that because I don't know. Like it was so weird because all these people were like, "Oh, I'm so like I've just always been so excited to get married. I'm so ready to be married." And like maybe like that's a real thing for them, but it's just like, well, like what about it? I mean, I guess wanting like a connection and a partner,
well,
like yeah,
a lot of it too is a status thing. There was I don't know if you watched Taylor Tomlinson, but she does really good comedy. And she was talking about how she was engaged for a bit, but she broke it off. But when she was engaged, she was talking about like how it got into her head and how she was like, I would wear that ring places and be like, I'm better than everyone. Like it's kind of a status thing. Like marriage is a huge thing in American culture, and like it's the biggest party we throw is when you get married. Like it's a big deal. And yeah, for a lot of people it's a status thing. For a lot of people it's the easiest way to move outside of class structures. Although I think race and class are the two least commonly crossed lines in marriages. But it is one way to transition social classes. But it is very much a status thing. Like people who are married are seen as better.
Yeah, and I think this kind of relates a lot to like polyamory, and especially with like solo polyamory, and like we talked about last time with like the relationship escalators of how there is such an expectation and like status, like you said, with like just getting married at like the right time and following that right path. And I mean, it is kind of weird because like, well, so there was this one girl who her shtick, because they all have like a shtick, and her shtick was that she was 27 years old and she was still a virgin. There was, conflicting opinions about like that, because some people were like, oh yeah, saving yourself. And she kept saying, oh, she got on this shtick where she was like, I want a really, really white dress because I'm so pure. And I was like, oh, bitch ass.
No.
Yeah. So there's that. And then it's just like, I think for people who like do or at least think they want to get married and like not having, most of these people are like late 20s, 30s. And so like that right now in our culture seems to be the time when it's like, you should be married by this time. And so like they had like 60,000 applicants, and it was just they're doing it in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's like just for one city, 60,000 people. And like, there is this kind of thing where it's like, I don't know, like, I feel like I had this initial reaction of like, yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe they kind of should be married, like, if they really want it, like, why haven't they done it? But then I was like, no, no one should get, I don't know, it's so weird. And I think it's just like these shows, like, we have so many dating shows that like deal in relationships, and I think that just like shows how kind of fucked approach we have to relationships, but B, how we're just sort of kind of denying a part of ourselves by like having like these reality shows are kind of a filler for like other relationships that we should be having but can't because of our amata normative society. So I don't know. It's a weird
and
show.
I think we've gotten to a point where a lot of people are getting married for the sake of getting married and not because they're actually like in love with a person. When you talk to a lot of people about like their life plans and stuff, they'll be like, oh, whoever I happen to be with when I'm, in my late 20s, early 30s, like that's just the person I'll marry. Not because they're the best person I've been with, just because that's who I happen to be with when I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. And that's when I want to get married. And it's like, I mean, I guess like that's a move. You can do that. But like, yeah, it's not like, I will marry the person who I am in love with and who I want to spend my life with. It's I want to be married. So whoever is there when I'm ready to do that, that's what we do. Which like, I mean, fine. Like that's you can do that. That's cool.
I mean, I think again it does just depend on like your values and goals. Like if you are very much like, I don't know, like if having like, for me personally, I think this is very much a personal thing. Like I want authentic connection with a partner. I'm not super marriage oriented. I'm not super child rearing oriented. So like there might just be people who are more oriented towards that. My caveat of that is I think those are kind of the values that society pushes. So for the people who do, claim to feel very strongly that way, my caveat is going to be like, sure, they feel this way, which it's so hard to be like, because like you're supposed to validate people. And it's like, you are valid, but at the same time, if you don't have all the information, how do you really know? Do you really know? And so it's like, you are valid and it's not bad. I want you to be your happiest. So I want you to have all the information so you can make informed decisions, is what I'm trying to say.
There's so much pressure to conform to like the standard narrative. A lot of people are really like genuinely scared of never getting married. So they're like willing to settle for, not having a partner they have a super deep connection with just so that they don't end up like, a spinster. Particularly for women, there's this big pressure of like, you don't want to be an old cat lady. And like people hit me with that all the time. And I'm kind of like, being an old cat lady sounds fucking dope. Like I already have 2 cats. They're great. We have a great time. Like if this is my life for the rest of my life, that's okay. Like I am perfectly happy. I would honestly rather have this than like settle for a mediocre partner who I don't really like just for the sake of having a partner.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about when we were having the conversation about stability, because like I think people, at least at first and from the outside, like the certainty and the concreteness of that. And maybe that's enough to last them for a while, maybe not. I don't know. Again, I just personally value interpersonal connection so much. I can't imagine not being with someone who I do not, feel is a good match for me. But, if others are into that, get it.
One thing I did want to talk about was dropping the L bomb in relationships, because I was just kind of thinking about like relationship milestones and stuff, and like when you say I love you and what does that mean? Because I was talking to I think I was talking to Rick about this. I can't remember. Maybe it was Zach. I don't know. One of my partners, I was having a discussion about the word love. And when I was dating Sebastian, we had a very, very in-depth discussion about like, what does saying I love you mean? And we like established a definition for the two of us. We also said I love you very quickly. Like I think a month into dating, I told Sebastian that I loved him. So when I told him, we had our month anniversary and we had just happened to be on a business trip together. So it was a really elaborate, like 1 month of dating celebration because, our company paid for these fancy meals in this nice hotel. So it was there's a lot of adrenaline rush. And we'd had a great, amazing day of like super good food, fancy hotel, walking around the city. And then we had really, really, really good sex at the end of the day. And it was right after we'd finished having sex, that I told him, I was like, I don't want to freak you out because I know it's super soon, but like, I think I love you. And he was like, this is the adrenaline. You don't mean it. Like, I appreciate you saying it, but like, you're on an adrenaline high. Like, wait half an hour. And then if you still mean it, we'll talk. And I was like, all right, no, that's fair. Like, it might be adrenaline, whatever. So we kept talking, and like half an hour later, he like asked, he was like, so like, do you still? And I was like, yeah, I think I do. Like, I think I do genuinely love you. And he was like, okay, cool, good. Because I've loved you for a week and I didn't want to say it until you said it, but like, I'm already there too. And I was like, oh, cool, good. But yeah, Sebastian and I had a whole like in-depth conversation about like what to be in love meant and what that word meant. And I've been thinking about that, like in relation to my current partners, because none of my current partners and I say I love you to each other. Even though, I mean, Zach and I have been together, although fairly informally, we've been together for over a year now. Particularly with Zach, it just doesn't feel like something that like fits into the relationship. I don't know why, but I've been like thinking about like what it means to say, because I'm very liberal with the word I love you. Like I say it to I say I love you to like all of my best friends. Like Zach's sister, who's one of my best friends, I say I love you to her every phone call. And the friend that introduced me to Rick, I also say I love you to her all the dang time. So like I'm pretty liberal with the word I love you, but I don't use it with Rick or Zach. And I've been kind of like pondering that. And I don't know. I think in part, I think with both my relationships with Rick and Zach, like they are more casual than your typical like serious relationship, I guess. And so I think maybe dropping the L bomb would like make it more serious. And I don't know if either of those relationships are in a place where like that's what we want necessarily. But I don't know. There have been moments where I've wanted to say I love you to Rick. And I'm like, no, I can't. It's gonna freak him out. Yeah, no. So we went on a trip to the mountains this past weekend, and it was a really, really lovely, just like weekend getaway. And there were several moments where like I almost said it, but I didn't. Like there was one time when we were walking next to this rocky terrain of some sort, and there was a road, and we were holding hands, and I was walking next to the road, and Rick was walking to my right on the other side. And in the middle of walking, Rick like jumped and like moved to my other side, so he was closer to the road, and he was like, oh, I have to be closer to the road so I can like protect you if there's like a car or something. And I was like, oh my god, like that's so cute. And I almost said like I love you, but I like said, I was like, haha, I love that, that's funny, huh? And he didn't catch it, but because I was like, fuck that.
Well, you think he didn't catch it. From the minimal information I've been getting, that seems like a very rapid timeline, because it wasn't that long ago where you were like, I barely know this guy, we have great sex, but like we don't really talk. And now you're like, I love him. I missed a lot in between.
I'm not saying that I love him. I am saying I have been tempted to say it. Which I don't know, like, what does it mean to love somebody, right?
Yeah,
like, what is it? Yeah. That's kind of what I've been wrestling with, is like, I've almost said it to him several times now, and I feel like I kind of want to say it, but I don't know what that means, right? Because, like, it doesn't mean I want a commitment. It doesn't mean I want monogamy. It doesn't mean I want anything to change between us at all. But at the same time, I still kind of want to say it, and I don't know why or what it means. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's been a thing I've been thinking about. I don't know.
Okay. No, I'm not judging. I was viscerally, which I've been using that word a lot, and I don't know if I'm using it correctly. I've been viscerally surprised when you said that, because just from, I know you don't tell me everything about every interaction you have, but it was just like, I don't know this guy, to like, yeah, I love him. Anyway.
I never said I didn't know him. Like, we've had conversations. We know each other. It's just like, Rick and I's relationship has been primarily sexual, and it definitely started off as mostly just sexual, but it has progressed. I mean, we've been having sex for at least since October. 6 months.
It's almost 6 months.
Yeah, so like half a year.
6-ish months.
And yes, we have a lot of sex, but we also have a lot of conversations.
No, I just wasn't judging. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, I'm sure your feelings are valid. I'm just saying from the data that I was receiving, it was very much like, yeah, we boned, but whatever, to like, I think I love him. So anyway,
well,
that's all I was saying.
I mean, if I were to summarize the relationship, that's kind of what it was. Although again, I don't know. No. I don't know if I love him. That's kind of what I'm wrestling with right now. It's like, I don't know if I love him. Yeah. I think I might. But also, what does that mean if I do? Like, because I don't know. I have a lot of feelings. Like, I have a lot of like emotions toward him, and like I miss him sometimes, which is not fun, and I dislike that feeling of missing him when he's not around. But I don't know. Anyway, so my original point was I was going to ask what do you think like I love you means in the context of romantic relationships? Like what is love?
Yeah. So I mean, I've never felt romantically in love with someone because I've never been in a serious romantic relationship with someone. Am I romantic? I don't know. Probably a little bit, at least on the scale, on the spectrum. But it was recently-ish that Danny said, I love you to me, and I said it to him. And like, that was like the 3-year mark in our relationship.
Yeah. Well, so River, who was my best friend for like 6 years or something, River and I had a lot of conversations about the L word, because with my friends, I never struggle to say the L word. Like with my friends, I will like within a week be like, I love you. And River and I were never romantically involved. We were always just really good friends. And so I would tell River I loved him all the gosh dang time. And River would never say it back to me because he was like, you're too liberal with that word. It needs to be special. And I was like, I don't think so. So River would never say it to me. And then I think like 4 years into our friendship, and we had been like best friends, like inseparable friends. Like a lot of people thought we were together for 4 years. And he finally, on a trip we were taking with a couple other friends, I don't remember if it was my birthday or something, but I remember what he said was he was like, Lizzie, I'm going to give you a gift. I love you. And I was like, River! Because I knew from him, like, it did mean a lot because he didn't say it to, like, anybody. And he was right that the fact that he didn't say it very often did make it more special coming from him. But I still think I ascribe to the philosophy that being liberal with the word love is good. And you should give love to as many people as you can. But it was extra special coming from him because he never used the word.
Yeah. And I think I don't use it liberally with my friends. Like, I don't know if I've said it with Leah before, just because I think my approach is kind of more conservative because I'm like, I don't know what this word means to people. And so I kind of want to have common definitions set. So like when I say it, they're not like, whoa, what does that mean? Right. So like we're at a point where it's like, if I said it, they would be like, okay, I know what this means for that. So I think that's why I don't say it as quickly or as liberally. But you have me thinking, because like in our family, in our, nuclear family, we say it all the time. Like every time you hang up the phone, you say, bye, I love you, which I guess I don't know how common that is in other families.
Well, and I think that's part of why I keep almost accidentally saying it to Rick, because I think it's just when I get really comfortable with people, I just say it because like that's what our family grew up doing. And like it wasn't a big deal. So I feel like it's just because I'm really comfortable around Rick that it just slips out. And it doesn't mean I want anything to change. Like like I feel the same as I've felt for, the last few months or so. Like it's just, I don't know. I just keep almost accidentally saying. Actually, so with my first adult boyfriend when I graduated college, I said it to him on accident like 2 weeks into us dating, because he slept over like every single night because he lived with his parents and didn't have his own place. So there was one morning when we got up for work and I was still like groggy and he had to leave before I did. And so he like kissed me on the forehead and was like, bye. And I was like, bye, I love you. And I didn't even it didn't register in my head that I had said it until he was like, Lizzie. And I was like, what? And he was like, did you hear what you just said? And I was like, oh, I was like, that just slipped out. Like, it's early in the morning. You can't hold that against me. And he was like, all right, fair enough. And that was it. But I said it to him 2 weeks in and like, it didn't mean anything. It was just like, I'm used to saying it with people I'm comfortable around. So I was just like, bye, I love you. Like, it's just words.
Well, that reminds me of Dad there was this whole, when we lived back in our old town where we grew up.
Oh, yes.
When we were little, and Dad called one of our neighbors and left a message, and at the end he was like, "Okay, bye, love you." And so then the neighbor called back and was like, "What?" I'm like, it was a joke, but it was so funny. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, through the process of this podcast, and you know, my recent thing with Roger and reading Sex at Dawn and everything, like, I just don't super believe in pair bonding anymore. And I do think that, like, romantic love is kind of a social construct on a lot of levels. Like, do I think you can have close, intimate relationships? Can you feel sexually attracted? Yes. As I said, I still don't really know how to define romance. Like I've said, like, I think that love, or whatever we were calling it, romance, is just like deep, you know, emotional connection, which is why I struggle to, you know, extract platonic and romantic from each other, because I think romantic is just like very, very intense, and then maybe throw in sex. I still don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. Like, when you're close with someone and like you feel comfortable and you feel connected, like, I'd say that is a kind of love. And maybe it's not the monogamous forever marriage relationship escalator love, but I don't know. Like, I think that is perfectly valid as someone who's never, you know, felt deep, quote unquote, romantic love. Like, maybe it feels different, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. The definition that Sebastian and I had come up with together, I don't remember now, but it was something along the lines of, like, it revolved around the fact that, like, humans are fundamentally selfish, but like love is what kind of pulls us out of that. And, like, you know, we take joy in the other person's joy, and we feel pain when the other person feels pain, and we, like, actively want to help them however we can, as long as we're not sacrificing our own, you know, authenticity or whatever. And it's a big part of Sebastian and I's definition of what it meant for us to love each other was that, like, we wanted to help each other on our life journey and, like, feeling each other's emotions. And I do kind of feel like that's where Rick and I are getting to, is why I also feel like I've been kind of tempted to start using the word. Because, like, when we went out to the mountains, Rick had never seen a mountain before, and he was so excited to see a mountain. It was the cutest thing. And, like, just seeing him happy made me happy. And, like, there were a couple of points on the trip where, like, he was kind of stressed about some things, and, like, seeing him stressed, like, made me stressed. Like, I really felt like what he was feeling, I was feeling. And, like, I genuinely enjoy, like, doing things for him, right? Like, when we were planning this trip, he was like, "I'm gonna have a good time no matter what, because I'm just excited to see the mountains. So, like, I just hope you have fun." And I was like, "I'm gonna have fun no matter what, because you're gonna be having fun." And, like, that, like, so yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, so I guess, I mean, you're kind of the one who I think could answer this, because I think we talked about before, and I think I asked you before if you'd ever been in love, and you said that you think the only time you had been in love was with Sebastian. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, that seems like your kind of frame of reference, so yeah. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's been something I've been thinking about a lot, and I don't. The thing is, if I knew I could say the word and it wouldn't freak him out, I think I would have by now, because it doesn't freak me out. Like, because I know that it doesn't mean I want anything to change. But there's this archetype in, like, the movies and stuff, right? Of, like, somebody saying "I love you" and the other person being like, "What? Oh my God, it's too soon!" And, like, freaking out and ruining everything. And, like, I don't want to do that, right? Like, I don't want to, like, tell Rick I love him and then have him be like, "Oh my God, commitment," because Rick is very, like, anti-commitment, which is fine. I mean, I am too, to a significant degree as well, so that's why it works. So I don't want to, like, drop the L-bomb and have him freak out and leave.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me, when we were in high school, my friend Sarah, when we were freshmen, she was dating a sophomore. I don't remember how long they'd been dating, but less than a year, probably less than 6 months. And he dropped the L-bomb on her, and she dumped him, like, the next day. Right. And I don't even remember what her reasoning was, but she just, like, dumped his ass. Yeah, so I don't know.
I know. And it's things like that where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say the word, because I don't want that to happen. But I don't know. So actually, funny thing, I realized when we were on the mountains trip, I hadn't told Rick that I was assaulted, and he learned that through the podcast. Yeah, which I usually make a point to have that conversation with all of my sexual partners, because I am, every now and then I've had instances where I've kind of been triggered and had to like stop things. So I usually make a point to tell all of my sexual partners like early on in the relationship that like I was assaulted, and I hadn't told him that, and he learned it through the podcast, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. That's a not great way for you to learn about that. I probably should have told you sooner. My bad. But he was really nice about it too. He was like, no, it's fine. He was like, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to talk about it. He's like, I'm glad that I know, but like, you can decide how much you do or don't share. Like, he dealt with it very maturely, but I was like, oh shit, I feel terrible. I should have said something to you before the podcast. That's a terrible way for you to find out.
Yeah, I don't know, especially since like, being very demisexual, like, or maybe it's pansexual or aromantic, I don't know, but just like love is, I think, a much less cookie cutter romance love, which I guess kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about, because I listened to an audiobook this week that was a fiction book, and it's called Red, White, and Royal Blue. I guess there might be some spoilers, but also it's like literally a cookie cutter rom-com, so you already know what happens.
Cool. He was a boy and she was a girl. Can I make it any more heteronormative?
Well, so that's the funny thing, because like it is a cookie cutter romance, but like the twist on it is that it was a gay romance.
Oh.
And then also one of the guys was half Latino, so they're like, it's a cookie cutter romance, but we made it kind of diverse.
But we made it a little progressive. Yay!
Which is like, yeah, I can get behind that, but also like it's another romance novel, which I guess I have a lot of complex feelings about romance novels, because okay, we're getting off of my normal track, but I have to do this rant, because so with romance novels, I think now reflecting on it, I probably got mad at them because I am somewhat aromantic, and so they just didn't make sense to me on some level. But I was angry at them because yes, they are usually very like heteronormative and amatonormative, and I think what I didn't like was that, the defense of romance and kind of why it does get shit on a lot as a genre is because it usually is written by women for women. So, in my research on like when I got really mad at romance novels, I did a lot of research. And so that's kind of the reason why they have kind of like a, 10-cent, racy novel, like, oh, that's trash. Like, no, it's valid. Like, it's no more or less trashy than the dumb action movies that also follow the same plot. Yeah. So I will say that it is equally trashy and valid as other bad genres. But here's why I didn't like it. Because even if it is for women and by women, which, support women. But at the same time, I think that a lot of it is like still kind of like, my problem with it is that it is still kind of an amatonormative wet dream.
I mean, women reinforcing the patriarchy for other women is not all that progressive. Like, there are some romance novels that are more feminist, and like those I can get behind. But like, just because something is by women for women doesn't make it great automatically. Like,
yeah. So what I'm saying is it shouldn't get more shit than action movies and other things that perpetrate the patriarchy. Mm-hmm. But I'm also saying that kind of what you just said, like just because it is by women does not give it a clean pass as not being problematic. So anyway, so that is the side tangent on romance novels. But for this one, it like the plot is that it was also kind of sad because like I don't remember I think it was written in like 2019. Its plot progresses through 2020, and the premise is that in 2016 a woman got elected to president and her son
so
is
close.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Close.
I know. That part hurt a little bit. It did hurt a little bit. But so her son is the gay half Latino, and then he falls in love with one of the princes of England, who isn't one of the actual princes of England in the real world, but like a fictionalized prince of England. And then they have a romance and eventually end up together. And so like it was great, as I may have. I guess I don't know if I have mentioned this before, but I am very much into the gay / fiction romance lines, which I've also done research on. I read one thing that was like, oh yeah, women really like gay romance stories because it's a space, and this is more a theory, I don't know how scientific this is, but one theory was like women like gay romances because it is a space where they can like project themselves into it, but they are not being objectified, because when it's two men, then like there isn't that power dynamic or imbalance, and they're two powerful autonomous beings, but they're equal. So that was an interesting thing.
I feel like I got really into gay romance stories because it felt kind of more authentic, but also I've always really liked like the experiences where it's like, we're not supposed to be doing this, but we're going to anyway. And like the gay romance stories always kind of had that vibe, because you know, it's legal now in America, but it's still like frowned upon by a lot of people. So there's always kind of an air of secrecy. At least in the media I consumed about gay relationships, there was always kind of an air of secrecy, particularly in the romance stories where like people were just discovering they were gay. I think that's why I liked them, because I kind of like the sneakiness. I think is kind of hot.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's why I was drawn to them, but that's interesting that's what you.
Well, because like the best sex I've had in my life is always the ones where it's like, we have to do this. Like there's this vibe of like, you know, there is no choice. We have to be having sex. Like we need each other. Like it's a very like primal like drive. And it's always instances in places where it's like, we're not supposed to be having sex right now, where it's like, you know, we're on vacation with another couple and they're in the next room, or like I don't know. I don't like public.
Right now. We should really, really not have sex right now.
Exactly. I don't like public sex. I've never been into that because I'm always terrified of getting caught and I don't want to get in trouble. But the instances where it's like, we probably shouldn't have sex right now, but we need to because we're so attracted to each other. Like that's always been the ones that have been the best for me personally. And I think that's kind of the same reasoning as to why I really got into gay romance stories, is because that was always kind of the vibe of like, we shouldn't be gay, but like we have to be because we are so attracted to each other.
Okay. So I think my reason is more of like, because the ones I've always really liked are where there are severe power imbalances.
Oh God, you're such a bottom.
I know, but I really like the power imbalances. But I think the aspect of the gay romances is that while there is a power imbalance, the fact that they're both men, as I talked about, kind of makes so it's like less of a power imbalance. Like there is, you know, that like dominant submissive dynamic, but it's like less objectifying, you know, because like it's not a man and a woman as like the patriarchy makes it feel. I was thinking about this and I was like, women, you know, as we read about in Sex at Dawn, like women are horny creatures. You know, I know men get the reputation as being horny, but like I have been so fucking horny these past couple months and it's so sad. But it's like, it's literally like, I just want to tell men, like, you don't have to do anything except just like literally if you don't murder us, like, that's the bar.
Bar is
like,
so low.
Literally, all women want is, like, to bone someone and then just leave alive the next morning. It's like, if there could just be a system where we could, like, just assure that, like, so much more sex would happen, everybody would be happier.
Please don't be a murderer. Please don't be a murderer.
Don't be a murderer. Exactly. Going all the way back to where this started with the red, white, and royal blue fan fiction. It wasn't fan fiction, but it read like fan fiction. It was fan fiction. And so, wow, we have so many steps to go backwards. But anyway, where I was going with that was that in the book, a large portion of it is like them, the couple, main couple, being in, I guess, I don't know with a large portion, but like a portion of the book is like them being in that kind of frantic, like very impassionate, very like, I guess I'll say lustful, I don't know, very impassioned, kind of infatuated. That's more of the word that Leah used when I was talking to her about this. And being in the very like infatuated stage, I was like, and you know, like they're sending texts and he's like, oh, I couldn't get him out of my head. And he was like, I need you. And like, you know, they were texting and emailing and it was like, oh, I thought about him all the time. The second thing that was funny, besides a female president not being elected, was like, they're like, oh, and then it was July 2020, and I was like, and there wasn't a pandemic. It was so funny, them just being like, oh, now it's 2020, and we'd be like, anyway. So what I'm getting,
they didn't know.
So anyway, this is going back to like romance, but like when they were doing all that stuff, it just reminded me so much of my very brief but very intense, like 1.5 week quote unquote romance with Roger, who I met on Hinge. It just got really intense really fast, and like it was that kind of like infatuation stage, which like, I don't know, when I was in it, I was kind of into it, but then very quickly I was like, I don't like this at all. And maybe it was him, maybe it was me, maybe it was us, but like, I don't know, just reading the book where like that stuff was happening, I was like, I don't know, I don't like that. And maybe that's just my aromantic self, but it was just like, I just had a reaction, and I don't know that I've fully unpacked it yet, but it just reminded me of that period with Roger, and like, I was like, I don't know if I'm just traumatized from that or if what, but yeah, I don't know. It was I don't know if that's love, and if so, I don't know if I want it.
Yeah, that's kind of where, okay, so I was talking to the friend that introduced me and Rick. Jackie is her name. And I was telling Jackie a few weeks ago that like I had a lot of really strong emotions for Rick, and I wasn't really sure what to do about him, or like if I should tell Rick about him or if they meant anything. And Jackie was very adamant that like I needed to tell Rick that like I had all of these emotions. And I was like, I don't know, like what would the point of that be? Like, because I don't want anything to change, and like it's not, I don't really understand why I have them or what they mean. So I don't think it's really fair to like impose the burden on him of like knowing that I have a lot of feelings until I know what I want to do with them or if they mean anything.
Yeah. What is love? Yeah. What is love?
What is love? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. All I know is I've got a lot of emotions, and like what prompted the conversation with Jackie was there was a night when Rick was over at my apartment, and typically he spends the night, but he didn't that night because his roommate was gone and he had to go feed his cat or something. But when he left, I was like profoundly sad, and I like missed him, and I was like, I don't like this one bit. This is a terrible feeling. This is not convenient. I hate it. And I immediately called another one of my friends, and I was like, I have emotions and I do not like them. Make it stop. Like, I don't want this. This is not, I didn't sign up for this shit. Like, I didn't want to miss him. Like, no, that's not what we were here for. I didn't, no, I don't want this. It's not pleasant. I don't like it. I'm not like happy about all of the emotions I have, but they're there and I don't know what to do with them.
There's two philosophies, right? There's the it is better to have love and to lost than to never have loved at all. And on the other hand, no woman, no cry. So.
Yeah. Well, and also I don't want to lose. Right? Like I don't want to, like I don't know if there's like a point to me saying the words if it's just going to freak him out, cuz like, you know, I don't want to lose him. That would be sad.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think you can take the approach of, saying like, the word love I use fairly liberally, and, I do feel connected with you, but this does not mean I, necessarily have any more desire to like trap you,
right,
ensnare you into something. Right,
yeah, like I don't want anything to change necessarily is the thing, and I don't know if saying the word is going to change things, because I don't want to change things. I just like, I have a lot of feelings. She doesn't even go here. I just have a lot of feelings.
I was trying to explain to Leah how, like, in our family, we make a lot of Disney movie references, but also just by myself, I have, and I don't know if other people do this, but I just have, like, scenes from media that I will quote that often most other people don't know what is going on. Like, a lot of times, like, mom would ask who wants to go to the store with me, and I would say, like, not I, said the pig, because that's from, like, the story of the little red hen, where the little red hen would come out and be like, who will crush the cornmeal with me? And they would all be like, not I, said the cow. And so like, that's what comes to mind anytime anyone asks me a question. I would like say that. And one time I like asked Mom, I was like, do you know what I'm referencing when I say that? She's like, no, not a clue. So yeah, what is love? What is romance?
I'm gonna see, this is good though, because I've been meaning to have this conversation with Rick, and I definitely need to have this conversation with him now before this episode comes out and he hears it, because I don't want another incident of him being like, I didn't know this until I listened to the podcast. So I should have this conversation with him before we release this episode.
Yeah. I mean, in my ideal world, we just live in a commune with people we like, and we have sex with them and live peacefully. So,
yep.
Who needs love?
I mean, we all need, I was going to say, we all need love. It would be, I wish it wasn't such a big deal, you know, like I wish it wasn't such a big, like dropping the L-bomb. I wish it was just like, we can say I love you to whoever and it's fine.
Well, there's the thing of like, I mean, this is not practical in any way, but like there's, you know, like agape and like all the Greek definitions of the different kinds of love. You could be like, Rick, I agape you.
I mean, that is probably a more accurate description of like what I feel, because it is more of a like camaraderie type of love. Yeah. Like, it's not like I don't want to marry the guy. Like, I'm not, you know, I feel joy when he feels joy, and I am sad when he's gone sometimes, and I like him a lot. I think he's a genuinely wonderful human.
Yeah, my friend she's slightly older than me, but still in college, one of my college friends, she got married in January, and I could not go to the wedding because of good old COVID, which is sad. But she married someone who, I don't know how long she's known him, but definitely since high school. Yeah. And so A, they've been long distance because she goes to college in a different country than him, and B, they've just like known each other for a long time. But yeah, they just got married, and I remember after she got engaged, or maybe before, I don't know, but at one time at a party, one of our friends asked her like, oh, like, do you love him? And she was like, yeah. And she was like, well, what does love mean? What does that mean to you? And she was like, she said something very similar, where she said something much more poetic, but you know, like, their joy is my joy, and like when they feel pain, like you feel it 10 times over. And like after she explained to the friend, it was like, that kind of sounds like it sucks. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, it kind of does.
I'm not happy. Like, honestly, when Rick left that night and I felt really profoundly sad that he was gone, I was like, shit, I hate this. And like when I called my friend and I was like, I have a lot of feelings for him and I don't like it, they were like, why? It's so cute. And I was like, no, I did not sign up for a lot of feelings. I didn't want to have a lot of feelings, and now I do. And it's not pleasant. I was happier when this was just a casual thing and I could just, you know, fuck him and he'd leave and that was it. And now it's like, well, heck, now I like you and I think you're a good person. And why did you have to be such a good person?
Yeah. We don't promise answers, just a space to explore.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. I'll keep you updated on when we have that. I'm meeting up with him this weekend. Oh, I'm getting Invisalign on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about it, but they gave me a really cheap deal on it, and they said that like it wouldn't take very long to straighten my teeth a little bit, and it would be really good for preventing like plaque buildup and stuff. And I don't know how accurate that is, because I haven't had a cavity in forever, but they said it would be really, really good for my teeth to do it. And I was like, all right, so we're doing it. So I texted Rick and I was like, hey, this is my last weekend without Invisalign, so we need to make out.
Well, when you wear Invisalign, do you have to wear it like 24/7?
22 hours of the day. And when you take it off, they put little like sticky things on your teeth so that it like locks into your teeth. It's not just like a retainer, it like locks in. So when you take it off, there's like sticky stuff on your teeth, so it's not super pleasant to not wear it either. So you wear it most of the day.
How long did they say it would take you?
For me, they said they thought 6 to 8 months, so not very long, because my teeth aren't that crooked, and I really didn't think I needed it at all. And I probably don't need it, but like I have the money at this point, and it was a really cheap deal, and they said it would be good for the long term. And I honestly wish I had done it during quarantine so that I could have just had them fixed when nobody was seeing me, but I didn't think about it until now. So, and we're not going to be like out of quarantine for another few months too. So I'll really only have Invisalign for a few months post-COVID, if there even is a post-COVID. We're just getting it done now.
It'll be better than 2 years of braces.
That's true. So. Yeah, no, it's objectively better than what you had to do.
The amount of effort I've invested into my teeth. Yeah, I guess that's all I had to talk about. So best of luck with good old Ricky.
Thanks.
Okay, bye. Love you.
I was just gonna say, I was like, love you. Oh. What does that mean, Jen? What does it mean that you love me?
Well, this changes everything.
What does that mean? You love me? Oh my God. I have to rethink this entire relationship. All right, love you.
Love you too.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, subscribe and leave us a review on your podcast app.
If you really like us, like us, send this episode to a friend, family member, partner, your boss, anyone else in your social circle, the people you want to convert to polyamory. Start a conversation.
Feel free to send us any comments or questions over social media.
So, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.